Stan, members of the dais, ladies and gentlemen, let me get a couple housekeeping things out of the way. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge Sue, the chambermaid over at the Sheridan Inn. She put this tie on for me today. And yes, Red, I'm Polish too, okay? I really had a hard time. Thank God for Sue. I also want to, I know you really feel badly about Coach Paterno not being able to come up with a tuxedo tonight, so Galen, Robbie, Mike, and myself are going to put a few dollars together and enable him to get a tuxedo for the next event that he has to go to. I'm really glad Coach is here too, because really, I'm really self-conscious about my nose, and when he's around, I lose all my inhibitions. Just let me tell you this. We have to take our shots at the guy because, he comes out swinging, and he's got the mic last. So. Okay, you're probably asking yourself, Steve, why did you come back here tonight? And, well, basically I came back tonight because I've been asked a question for the past 20 years. It's haunted me, really. When I was a star right defensive tackle at Penn State, people asked me this question. And I thought, well, it'll end when I move out of Penn State. And I went out to Canada and played, and of course people came up to me and asked me the same question. And I thought, well, hey, don't worry about it, because it's cumbersome, it's bothersome when they ask you this, So, well, once I get out of football, they won't ask me it anymore. But I went down to Maryland, I got into business, and people continually, still, to this day, come up to me and they ask me that question that's haunted me. That is, Steve, you were the great right defensive tackle. But who was the fat guy with no hair who played left tackle on that team? And then, of course, they ask me how my piano playing is coming, too. And I have to say, well, listen, I had to give up the piano because I became allergic to ivory. And so I consequently got out. It's a great honor for me to be here tonight, and I really, really and truly mean that. Because, first of all, Mike and I were very good friends at Penn State, and we shared a lot of really great moments. And so when they asked me to do this, even though it was Easter and things, I said, gee, I've got to do it because I have so much respect for Mike as a person and as an athlete. Let me just tell you some things that really impressed me about Mike when I was at Penn State. One thing was the 1969 Orange Bowl. As you probably remember, Kansas was winning, and we finally went down and scored. And then, of course, we went for the two-point conversion. Now, I was there on the field, and some of you may have been down at the Orange Bowl, and if you can remember, on TV, of course, when we were going for the two-point conversion, there was pandemonium on the sidelines. I mean, everybody was epileptic, including, the Italian guy here. But there was Mike Reid. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but I was next to Mike, and shaking and crying and, couldn't contain myself. And there was Mike praying. I don't know if you remember that. The TV camera, was on him, and he was there praying. And, of course, the first attempt at that two-point conversion failed. And we got and I thought, oh, wow, we lost the ball game. And then, of course, the flags went flying, and, Pepper Rogers and his team put 12 or 13 men on the field, and we got a second chance. And I remember thinking, Steve, you went 12 years to a Catholic school, and those nuns and those priests always told you, hey, those Protestants can't talk to God. And I thought to myself, hey, maybe I should convert, to find out what church he's going to. So that was one situation. The other thing that, and it's interesting, I haven't talked to Mike for a few years, but in a couple of conversations that I heard, him talking to some of the interviewers, one of the things that really stuck out in my mind was Mike was a wrestler, of course, and one of the highlights for him, and you got to understand this, the type of team that we had back in the late 60s was a team of we and us, and this guy to my right here was instrumental in making us a team of we and us. So we shared one another's highs and lows. But I can remember Mike in a match against Lehigh, where the match came down to the heavyweight match. and Mike won the match. There were 3,000 people in Rec Hall, and he was carried off by the students out of Rec Hall. And I can remember being so proud and so happy for Mike because it was such a tremendous accomplishment. And that, stuck out in my mind. And then, really, I laugh about the question about the playing tackle and who was left tackle and right tackle, but I wish, really, I had a quarter for every time someone in the last 20 years, and I really and truly mean this, has come up to me and said, "Hey, Steve, what is Mike Reid doing? Where is he? What's he doing?" And it's so nice for me to be able to say, he's kind of kicking around down Appalachia. And I tell them that he's won a Grammy Award, and it's just an unbelievable thing to be able to tell people of a classmate, of a teammate that you had with you at Penn State. And finally, let me just say this, that one of the things that impressed me as well about Mike was the relationship that he had with his family. I can remember Mike's mom and dad, and of course Mike's dad is deceased now, but I remember them coming to each and every game and seeing Mr. and Mrs. Reid at the games. And I particularly remember the close relationship that Mike had with his mom. I mean, I don't know how many of you know this, but the first songwriter in the Reid family wasn't Mike. It was his mother. And I think there's a famous Monsignor in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, who was very instrumental in a lot of things that I did in my life. His name is Joe Paterno. Jeez. See what the guy's done to my mind? Okay. His name is Joseph Fleming. And when I was growing up, he used to tell all the kids at St. Andrews, but me in particular, that when you're looking for a friend when you're growing up, check with what he or she is like, how he or she treats his mother. Because when you see how that person treats their mother, then you'll know that that person can be a good friend, somebody that'll stand beside you when things are tough. And that's what Mike Reid was all about. He had a tremendous close relationship with his mom, and I really appreciated that. I really understood that, and that's why I think we became friends. So having said all these things, at this time, I'd like to present Mike Reid for induction into the Blair County Hall of Fame.